Welcome to Envy's Donut, a podcast about everything, anything, and nothing in between. Hello friends, welcome for another episode. Our today's guest is Ocean. He's been here before, and also we have Henry as well, his dog. How are you, Ocean?
I'm very good, thank you. And I moved to my new place, which is a mobile home in a forest.
Nice. Yeah, it was in the forest last time we chat. It was in a cottage.
Yeah, I just moved down the road a little bit.
Yeah. How's life in the forest?
It's lovely out here. What you need to do in these crazy times is to spend a lot of time in nature. That's what the recommendation is, because it eases, relaxes, de-stresses. Plus you're breathing in the energy of the forest, which is highly oxygenated air without the EMF radiation. So it's got a lot of really good qualities.
That's great, but how do you manage to get all the information that you need being in the forest?
It's actually connected into the internet here. I mean, it's not quite brilliant as being in York. It's only about 2 megabytes, but it's enough to do YouTubes and stream most stuff, which is what I do on the evenings.
That's the thing. I mean, how do you balance the life in a city with the life in a remote area, you know, to get the positivity, the energy and everything you're after, but you still have to be connected to information.
The 3D reality is still out there, so you still have to get the food in, make the food, what have you, and all this sort of thing, and keep the caravan going, because it's actually a bit fiddly. Sometimes electricity goes down and what have you, but it's a bit getting towards the off-grid sort of mentality of being more self-resilient.
Yeah, it's a trend now. Everybody wants to get out of the city life and the stress and the life being on with your foot on the acceleration and trying to rush towards what?
Well, from a Zen perspective, there's actually no goal. I'm just reading a book which is actually Trungpa Rinpoche, because John, who used to be the place I used to live at, has moved all this stuff out, and there's hundreds and hundreds of books that have gone actually to charity, but some of them I decided to have a look at myself. One of them is Journey Without a Goal. It's a very Zen concept of what's happening. You're actually on a journey, you're off somewhere, but you don't really know where it is. You're just enjoying life on the journey.
But that's the thing. I mean, we've got this in our genes, in our, we're going towards something, even though our whole life we don't know where we're going towards what, but we're still going.
Yeah.
And we're still having children, and we're still passing from one generation to another, and we don't know why we're doing it.
Well, over here I have some pictures of my grandchildren, and my concern is that the world we leave our grandchildren is better than this world, the world we're currently in. So my path, if you like, is moving to a place where we leave a better world, which is currently not quite decided yet.
We hope for a better tomorrow, and I think we got better with every generation, isn't it? I mean, are we worse off than we used to be?
Well, there's 2 different ways of looking at it. We're actually at a very critical point, although whenever we speak, we're always at a critical point. But this one, I would have thought by now we would have had a major breakthrough, but it hasn't happened yet. And my take is it's going to happen sometime this late, and it could be this month. It's that soon, which would be a major event, which is what I thought if we wanted to cover the current takes on what predictions are out there. But of course, making predictions is almost very difficult because it depends on the timelines.
The thing is, it's what I realized, it's so strange. There are some people, I'm not gonna name anyone, they're talking about synchronicity. And I've noticed that it's something real. It's something that happens all the time, and you think it's a coincidence, but it's happened so often. And all that he suggested is just keep an open mind. It's so easy. Why people don't do it? Why don't they keep an open mind and to see things, that happens to them?
Well, I think that people are quite busy and maybe not tuned into that, but more and more people are talking about this number thing where you see 1111 or 33 or a set of numbers. And my take on that is that when you're getting those sort of confirmations, it's like saying you're on the right path. That's how I take that. It's sort of an early stage of synchronicities when you keep on seeing the same sort of things. And then the synchronicities get even more and more. You get books that just suddenly are there for you to read. Or
Yes.
there's
Yes.
a YouTube that suddenly, out of the blue, it's selected for you. And it's just what you need to
Exactly.
answer a question that you've got on your mind.
It happened to
It's,
me, but the question is, are these things happen to you, or you are seeing them?
Well, my take on it is that we have what's called a higher self or a guide, spiritual guides. And when we came on to this virtual reality, which is one of the toughest virtual reality systems to be in, we were meant to have regular communication with our guides who are there to help us navigate this difficult world. But a while back, our DNA was dumbed down to the point at which we disconnected our guidance system, basically. But that's coming online. So more and more people are able to tune into their intuition, if you like. It's different words you can use for more or less the same process, which is there are beings that are helping you through the life.
But that's the thing.
But you have to listen to what they say,
Is
because you can ignore them and then you go down another route, because there's always free will and they let you go down the paths because there's a learning experience. And when you realise that you've gone down the wrong path, well, maybe you've learned something.
So that's the thing. You say we already have it. We just need to tap into it.
It's always been there, but we've been disconnected from it, or there are various mechanisms the deep state have used to disconnect us, because if they knew that we could connect, we become very powerful beings, which of course they don't want us to do. They dumbed us down.
So that's where our busyness comes in.
Well, yeah, there's that as well, because they've got us running around on this treadmill for less and less money, with jobs that don't really satisfy. But you need it in order to live, which is the whole system they instituted in order to cause us to be in a kind of like a slave state.
Well, that's coming. It's called universal basic income or something.
Well, that potentially comes, and there are issues with it, but to my mind, that's where we're going, because when artificial intelligence which is becoming more and more prevalent, so the more and more things are done by robotic AI or something, what do we do? Well, the answer is we have everything that we need provided for us, so we don't have to work, so we can often do the things that we want to do.
What do you think about this AI?
It's a big problem. All technology works the same way, that a knife can be used for a surgical instrument to do some really delicate surgery and cure someone's problems, or it can be used to kill someone. So it's the same knife, the same
Yes.
AI can be used to benefit us or not. It depends who is running the AI system.
Are we gonna let it emerge, or are we gonna stop
Well,
it?
you can't stop it. And this talk of regulation is nonsense. I mean, regulation has never been a solution to anything,
Yeah,
in
look
my
at
view.
atomic bomb. And
I read the Eye, and they've got a major campaign against the amount of sewage and rubbish that's dumped into our rivers, and this shouldn't be happening with our water companies. Anyway, there's a famous case called Camelford in the southwest water, I think it was, that was cleaning some tanks out, but they disconnected up the wrong pipes or something, and they pumped a whole load of acid or really nasty stuff into the tanks that were actually being used for drinking water. So a whole load of people got poisoned. So, and clearly it was from the water company. It was, because they all reported the same conditions from drinking the water. So the water companies, of course, the South West Water initially denied all knowledge of it, of course. That's what they first of all do. No, it's nothing to do with us. But then over about a year or so, it became quite clear it was down to the water. So now you've got to take them to court. But to do that costs you lots of money. So you have to then prepare your case, put together a case action, a class action, and generate the cash to go and take them to court. That took them out another 3 or 4 years, all the while South West Water was denying all, it wasn't really their problem. 10 years in, it was still more or less the same thing. 25 years it took before they actually got into court. They actually had to be told by the judge, you were at fault. You disconnected at the wrong things, which they knew right at the very beginning, 25 years ago. By then, of course, a lot of people had been poisoned and died.
Yeah, it seems like more and more recently, a lot of conspiracy theories are true stories.
Yes, well,
basic facts,
you see,
real
you've
facts.
got to understand what a conspiracy theory is. A conspiracy is a crime.
Yeah, conspire.
It's actually a major crime.
Conspire doing something.
Conspiracy to defraud or conspiracy for whatever. And a theory is what scientists use in order to determine, with a theory, go away and test it with evidence, so to prove whether it's right or not.
Yeah.
So a conspiracy theorist is actually a crime investigator, a major crime investigation using scientific evidence-based systems.
Yeah.
There's a whole different take on conspiracy theory.
Do you think that something happened, that more and more of these stories that were considered conspiracy theory are getting in the light now?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And
yes.
they're proven to be
correct.
Yeah.
And we're going to find more of them. But there are some conspiracy theories which are false. So I'm not saying they're all true. I'm just saying that
of course.
There's quite a few of them are correct.
No, but it's easy to dismiss something like, oh, it's just nonsense, and then you realize it's true.
Yeah.
Who's benefiting from these?
Well, it's the deep state. They don't want us to know all the stuff that they've been getting up to, which some of it is quite evil. Well, I've written 2 books. I'm actually writing a 3rd, but the first book, called One Way Zen now, I put in there's 3 things to check if you're interested in what's called going down the rabbit holes or taking the blue pill. The first one is who built the pyramids. Second one is 9/11. And the third one was why have we only got 46 chromosomes. So if anybody wants to check out these 3 things, you'll be a little bit surprised at what you might come up with.
Yeah, there's a lot of mysteries out there. Nobody knows, or nobody wants to give more information. But even if some people, come out with information, they are discredited.
They used to be able to get away with this more than they can now. I think there's an awful lot of people out there who are tuning in and awake, more than we perhaps think.
Yeah.
Who have checked things out. And we've got Julian Assange coming out, which is going to be an interesting one, because apparently he's got a whole ton more information, which is going to blow open their little games.
Yeah, I'm still puzzled. Why would they want to keep all this? I mean, I'm talking about ancient Egypt and pyramids and all that. Why would you want to keep secrets about things that if
my take on the pyramids would be they're built by extraterrestrials. They weren't by human hands. It wasn't a whole lot of people with blocks and tackle. Well, that's a little nonsense.
Let's say that's true. Why would you want to keep that
Well, then we
hidden?
get into the whole extraterrestrial question, which opens up a whole new avenue which they really try to suppress. But recently, dribbling into the news system has been more information about the extraterrestrials, but it's a huge story that we've only just got a tiny little incy-wincy bit of it. One big story in the extraterrestrials we've got to get over, which is going to make a huge difference, is the Anunnaki story, which is these extraterrestrials that came here and pretended to be gods, and they are in the Bible as God.
Yeah.
Because they said to the people then, who were fairly basic sort of understanding of things, that they were, because they did appear they were much bigger and almost giant size, with all sorts of fast, big technology that they couldn't tell that they could blow up cities and stuff, which, you know, they were viewed as gods.
If you're not mentally prepared, it doesn't matter the technology. If you can't understand it, it's magic. It's,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand it.
Yeah,
You
so you say, well, these must have been gods because they
Yeah.
could do things which the average person couldn't do then.
Yeah. Well,
But that exposes the whole religious story becomes now a story about extraterrestrials rather than angels. Angels are basically extraterrestrials.
if you wouldn't have the words for it, what would you say? You'd use the words that you have
Well,
to describe something that you
yeah.
don't know what it is.
Of course, the translation of the Bible is very important because the original word was something that they basically said they came from up there. And up there was translated as heaven. But in reality, it means space.
Yeah.
So they meant they were space people.
Are you worried about the merger of AI with human bodies?
This is a complex area. Now, the extraterrestrials that I particularly follow are the Arcturians. And the Arcturians have used technology. So we're not against technology. It's just how it's used. Now, what they have recommended is that technology needs to have a human, or it can't run its own affairs. It's got to be controlled by a human.
But that's one of the problems. Who's going to control it?
Yes. Well, someone with a heart, with a soul. So that's their take on it. Now, we're already using technology that's got a lot of artificial intelligence, like these mobile phones and what have
Yeah.
you, which I think is an advantage. But, you know, you've got to be careful with the mobile phones because they can completely absorb you and you stop being in charge of it. You become sort of a slave to it almost.
Yeah.
And as inserting technology into your body is a next stage on, Neuralink and what have you. And there's some real dangers in all this, particularly with something called nanites. Because some extraterrestrial civilizations have gone down their nanite route, which enhances their abilities. So their brain power and so on can be enhanced using this artificial intelligent technology inside their body. But the trouble is that nanites can be controlled by an external force. So they then become, even though they're super powerful, they're actually under the command of another AI system. So one big take, which Kerry Cassidy has this take, and I think there's some truth to this, that the battle we're seeing playing out on Earth, which is a spiritual battle in a way, and we see it as an extraterrestrial versus extraterrestrial sort of thing, but it could be some sort of quantum AI system fighting another quantum AI system. You see, it could be a battle of artificial intelligence against itself.
So are we in a simulation then?
Yes, definitely. We're in a simulation. Yeah, that's I think we've talked about this before, haven't
Yeah,
we? That
yeah.
it's my big take that we're in a virtual reality or a simulation or holographic universe.
Yeah, but if, let's say it's true, we are in a simulation, would you want to get out, or you still want to be in it?
Well, if there's a simulation, then there is a base reality which is generating the
Yeah.
simulation. And it could be generating other simulations. And those simulations could be generating
Of course.
our virtual realities itself. And those those virtual realities could generate other virtual realities. Do you see how this thing
Yeah.
grows into some sort of massive multiverse system? But at the very core of it all, there is the base reality. So if you get out of one virtual reality, you might just hop into another virtual reality.
Yeah.
You see, so you're
It's
not really
endless.
escaping at all. You're
It's
just going
endless.
into another one. This is the story behind the of the Matrix film. When they escaped the Matrix, Neo ended up in what's called Zion.
Yeah.
But what if Zion itself was just another type of matrix?
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
are you really escaping it? Now, Buddha, when he talked about all this, he talked about escaping samsara. And so that was the enlightenment or the liberation experience, was when you can break free of the samsaric wheel and becoming a Buddha. So he had the view that there is something within any ensouled being, any human being, that can actually break free of the virtual reality and be in base reality. And I do think that's true, but it's going to take us a while for our consciousness to get to the place where the average person can go there. Now, there have been people like Buddha and many saints and so on have talk about this place they go to, which is beyond the mind and beyond the matrix.
Yeah, but the question is, would you want to get out and experience the real reality?
Well, that's the journey.
Yeah.
That is actually, if you like, there is a sort of goal, which is to go to base reality. Basically.
But I think that the more important, the more interesting way would be to have the journey. So to go to all sorts of experiences in all these parallel universes or realities. I think would be even better than just going to one.
Yes, that's right.
Place.
That's what. In fact, we are from Source. So, as Source beings, we chose to go into all these different realities and have different experiences, just as you say.
Yeah.
Because
That'd
that's
be
what the purpose of the whole thing is, if there is a purpose.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think that it's not the end of it. It's not the finality of it. It's the journey itself that makes life worth living.
Yes.
I think
The journey without a goal, which is that
I think
book
that's
I've just been talking about.
I think that's why we're here,
Yeah,
to experience life.
yeah, that's right.
It's easy as that's the goal.
What I would say is that in Yorkshire, living here with my dog in the forest, it's a wonderful life. But some people don't get to experience that. And that's where my own view is we need to change the way it works so that more people can experience the sort of life that was actually expected due to them. It's just been corrupted by these
Technology.
people. Well, yeah, I say the deep state people, but
Yeah, next generation and the generation after. I mean, they're not spending time in nature anymore. It used to, I don't know about you. I'm from a different country, but we all used to go, camping. We used to go fishing. I used to go fishing with my father. We used to go out in nature for picnics and things like that, out in nature. But I suppose it's our duty to educate the children to, go out and explore nature.
let's hope so. Yeah, I
But-
think the education system needs a major upgrade.
Yeah,
Along with lots of other systems need major upgrades, but that's a particular one because I do feel for the children and the people growing up, because some of them are losing hope, and the amount of suicides of young people.
we've got everything we need. Our basic needs have been fulfilled for most of the people, not for everybody, but for most of the people. And then you take this for granted, and you think that that's life, and you have to look for something else.
Well, my take would be that when we get over this hurdle, which is hopefully sometime this year or maybe next, we are into a whole new ball game, which will be abundance for all. So we all have can do what we're meant to be doing and so on. We get extra technology, which would be free energy, which would release a lot of people's heating and light and all the rest of it. That's all going to be dealt with. They have med beds, so these medical conditions are all resolved, and we don't have to worry about the NHS because it's all You know, there's so many things out there that would make life so much better. I agree with, we're in a good we're in a position which is much better than some of the times before. We just played a game called Bristol 1350 where the plague was a real big issue. We don't have those sort of things. Or they try to generate one with COVID, but it wasn't such a big success for them that they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, technology is coming, and especially AI, and you know, it's going crazy these days, and it moves so fast. I was listening the other day an interview with the first person who received the Neuralink, like an implant in the brain, and he can move the cursor of the mouse on the screen just thinking about it, and it's unheard of. You know, if you could have told someone 20 years ago that this will happen, it's sci-fi, you know, science fiction.
Yes.
But it's happening. So yeah, we're moving fast towards a
better future, hopefully.
Yeah, what's your hope for the future?
Well, as I was saying, that to go through quickly the disclosure process that's going to needed, and it could be the nature of it, what's called catastrophic disclosure. That's a word that Michael Sallon's using on Exopolitics. And quite a few people sort of have that sense. Stephen Greer's another one that says because of the slow pace of which they've been willing to disclose stuff, it's going to be catastrophic when it happens, because they have been dilatory in their ability to get the information out. So it's going to be catastrophic. Get that over with quickly, and then we can move into this new technology age where the timeline splits and we move into a heaven on earth.
Yeah, you said about, you know, more and more people are more aware of what's happening, are awakening, or how do you say it? You said it. Do you think this is part of us as population getting ready for the next chapter, the next technological chapter? Because, you know, people are more aware of what's going on, are ready to receive this new technology and to accept it into their lives. Do you think this has something to do with what's coming next?
They're connected, yes. I mean, one of the stories is that we can't handle the truth. There's famous Jack Nicholson, when he was a general or something, said, you can't handle the truth. And there's some truth to what he was saying, because, you know, you can imagine 20, 30 years ago, we weren't ready for any of this. But now, with all the amount of disclosure in all the various films and virtual reality games, I've been watching Assassin's Creed, and there's a ton of disclosure in there, which really surprised me, to be quite honest.
Which one of them?
Assassin's Creed. So it's a huge series.
I know, but which one Assassin's Creed? Because
well, the one that so many. I just can remember is Unity, where they talk about the Phoenix Project, where there's a precursor. Do you remember? There's a precursor race that built the Eden technology, which they're after because they needed it in order to deal with a future event, which they then show the sun blowing up, and that was the future event that they're worried about, that they need to go back in time for Enzio and the various other people to go and find the Eden technology of the precursor race. And then they show you in the Phoenix Project, which is Unity, is the one I just remember, they talk about that the DNA of the precursor race is superior to ours, and it was to gain access to that DNA, which is quite close. They talk about three DNA strands rather than two as the improved DNA, but what that really is saying is that we've actually got 12-strand DNA, not just 3. But currently we're operating on just 2, or some of us have a bit more of the 3 switched on. Apparently someone like Jesus had all 12 switched on, so they could do amazing things.
I can't imagine what would that mean for...
Well, it's way ahead of where we are.
Yeah.
Just getting on the 4th strand would be a big one.
So do you think that clues in all these video games and films and, you know, all books and sci-fi books, and do you think there are clues, or do you think it's the other way around, where we start with a fiction book and then we build it on it? Or how do you think it works?
You
Both?
could read it both ways. I take it as disclosure in a positive light that because so many people have seen the films, or like Jupiter Ascending. In fact, there's a ton of films out there that I can recommend to watch that show you a ton of disclosure about the reality. But you could say to them, oh, that's just fiction. For example, the medbeds have appeared in Elysium Fields. Elysium, I think it's called, actually. So when I talked to my brother about this, he said, oh, that's just fiction, and just dismissed it. Well, to my mind, no, it's not fiction. Those medbeds exist.
I think they're working on them, Yeah, but it's if you look in the past at, I hope this is not true, because what if 1984 comes true? George Orwell.
Well, my second book was about the splitting the timelines, which I think we've talked about, which is there is a dystopian future timeline, which I call the Armageddon timeline. So there's the heaven on earth, or the paradise timeline, and there's the Armageddon dystopian future 1984 Big Brother totalitarian state timeline, and we're currently in parallel running, so they're both here.
So we can go both ways.
They can go both. Well, at the nexus part of the split, there'll be a choice made as to which particular reality do you want to go into, because some people actually want to go into the totalitarian dystopian future.
But that's the problem. Will somebody else decide for all of us where to go? That's the problem.
I don't know the whole story, and you've got to, everybody, I would recommend checking out, doing your own research. Very important part of the journey is checking it out for yourself. What resonates with you? What's true for you? And for what's true for me, or you see, actually in Assassin's Creed, if you remember, the Assassin's Creed itself, actually was it the Templars, did say there is no truth and everything's permitted. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I think that's the Templars, which of course is would be the deep state. You see, has been sort of compressed into just one group of people, but it's actually they're showing you what the deep state operation is, and they think humans can't run our own affairs. They needed someone, i.e. them, to run the affairs, and they would create order out of chaos, where we heard that before, and the Masons and so on, where they would be the people who would provide a better future for us, because they would run the show, you see.
Yeah, but if you live under a totalitarian regime, is that a good thing, you know?
Well, to my mind it's not, but in their mind they're doing us a favour.
Oh, of course.
By being in charge of us.
Because
you see.
Somebody says that if you want to know where we're going, just look at China today.
Yeah, well, this is the deep state plan. Was they have this idea where you shift the power base from around the world, basically, so you all get a sort of shot at running the show. For a long time, well, we had the Romans, you know, and then there was a sort of interregnum period, and then the British Empire turned up, and of course, you know, it was the empire the sun never sets on. I mean, it was like huge, and the British were running the show, and then the power base was transferred to America. So for 75 years, it kind of like works off a sort of a time period that they ran the show for about 75 odd years. But the current plan is to shift the power base from the West, from America, to China. So that's why they've been busy wrecking the West.
Yeah, what happened in
and shifting all the manufacturing and everything,
Europe,
the power to China.
Yeah, but
so that's their plan.
That's not good.
No, it's not good at all, but that's their plan.
But how can we stop it?
Well, it's yes. Now you get on to, you know, what do you do in the situation? Now, for me, knowing that we're in a virtual reality, I think meditation plays a huge role in this, because we have the power to create reality. In fact, we're actually creating reality right now, you see.
Yeah, sure.
And so our intentions matter. Now, an individual intention has a sort of minimal effect on the timelines, but a group, a mass meditation, has more and more people that join in. It's not just, if there's 3 people, it's not like multiplied by 3, it's multiplied by 30. And if there's 1,000 people, in fact, the Maharishi effect is talking about a square root of 1% of the population, which I think is around about 7,000. Now, as far as I'm aware, it's very hard to get 7,000 people on a mass meditation. I do what's called 144K mass meditations. 144,000 was this idea of these were the number of people that would be on the planet at this time doing spiritual work in order to bring us into the positive timelines.
But the problem with that is that meditation is not for everybody.
No, we only need 144,000.
No, I mean,
of 8 billion.
not in the sense that they can't be bothered, in the sense that they can't do it, or it's difficult for them to do it,
Yeah,
or
it
they
does
don't
need
know how to
a
do
little
it.
bit of practice, and I think 6 months to a year. I know it's a bit of a pain. You have to sit down, take yourself out of the
As you said,
flow,
people
and people don't have the time
don't have
and so
the
on.
time.
There's all sorts of reasons.
They're very busy.
And I sympathise, but it's not for everybody. For me, I have the time. So tonight we've got a 4th of July mass meditation. In fact, we're going to have one on the 5th as well because there's a new moon. So we tend to do it at the same time that the negatives are doing whatever they do to counteract, and we're having major success.
What day is today?
It's 4th of July.
That's exactly 1 year since last time we talked.
Is it really?
We talked on
that's
4th
right.
of July,
Well, there
talking
you go,
about
you see.
synchronicity.
Yeah, yeah. The synchronicity.
It
yeah.
wasn't planned, so it's strange. That's strange.
It's the way it works, isn't it? Yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was just saying about the 144K. I'm a big fan of Jim Sarkis, who also resonates with the Arcturian sort of mindset. So he talks about being the ground team. You see, we are getting help from above.
Well,
There are
that's
a lot of people very interested in what goes on here, because what happens on Earth affects not only the galaxy but potentially the entire universe, which is pretty sort of mind-blowing. But if you understand that the virtual reality is fractal, there's a kind of like different places have different roles to play inside the fractal nature of the virtual reality. And this planet is apparently what's called a keystone planet, which means that his has a very important role to play. So what happens here now in these next few years is going to have a huge impact on the whole story for this galaxy, at least, if not beyond.
But that's good. You said somebody else is helping us, but I think we have to help ourselves.
Oh, very much so. We are the ground team. We're the guys with the work to do.
Yeah.
But we're not doing it in isolation. That's what I'm saying.
For people to start doing something, meditation, or to help themselves, they need to see a benefit out of it. That's how people work. If you give me something, I'll do it. Or if they are threatened by something, they'll do things. But what's in it for them? That's why would I meditate for 3 hours a day when I'm very busy?
Well, what you find if you do meditation, that the rest of your day is a lot better off if you've got that sort of centered, focused, de-stressed place.
Yeah, I never heard the story of someone who's meditating saying, "Oh, this is horrible." So,
In fact, I would recommend having meditations in schools. Now, they actually tried this in Skelmersdale with the Maharishi TM group, and they had a school where they taught the children meditation, and they started the day, instead of the school assembly and singing and what have you, they would do a 20-minute meditation.
That's brilliant.
Using the Maharishi system, which is a mantra. And they discovered the school got phenomenal results.
That's great.
particularly in areas that you wouldn't have thought, like poetry or in art or in the creative side of life. Now, some schools, of course, aren't really interested in the creative side.
They need
It's
workers.
more like rote learning, and but to my mind, education is always about creativity. It's always about bringing out
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
child the natural creativity that we all have,
Yeah.
rather than trying to squeeze them into a box, which unfortunately a lot of the boxes, of course, are actually got incorrect information in them.
But that's the thing. I mean, will that be a good thing where we don't have to prepare our children for the working class when all the work is going to be made by robots and machines? And I mean, that's
You
the
can vision a
balance.
whole new world, can't you?
That's the balance.
Yeah.
What would kids learn in school if they don't need to prepare for working life?
Well, they learn to bring out their own innate talents.
So that's a good thing.
very
but
much
then,
so.
on the other hand, what you're going to do with a grown-up person who has nothing to do with their lives than
enjoy
life?
being, yes. How about that?
Some people leave to work. That's their whole life purpose, just to go to work, because maybe
Yeah, we now got a whole concept called contributionism, or Ubuntu, which is the name Michael Telliger gave it because he's from South Africa. But Ubuntu has also got another meaning. But for the purpose of this, is contributionism, which means that in order to share the benefits of the community, you need to make a contribution to that community. So it's not as if you don't have to do anything.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just you contribute to the community your natural gifts. Now, it so happens, which is one of the little sort of amazing things, is that the way it works is that we all got different natural gifts, that our own passions, our own things that we like doing, such that everything, all the things that you need to happen in the community there'll be someone there that enjoys doing it. For example, there's some people who actually enjoy growing stuff.
Yeah.
So they'll be out there growing stuff.
But let's say
There are some people out there like cooking food. They actually like
Yes,
doing
yes,
that.
yes,
It's their
yes.
passion.
It's
They
true.
enjoy having really good quality food, making that, and then seeing someone enjoying their food.
It's true,
So
yeah.
they'll be cooking all the food and stuff.
But let's say we have like a community where it's like, how many poets can a community support?
Well, yes,
Because it's like, in a perfect world, yeah, definitely is one person who'll deal with the things they like, and they're all diverse, and varied jobs get done by people passionate about those jobs. But let's say there's a community where just a few passions, and there's none of the needed ones.
Yes.
What you gonna do then?
Well, Michael Telliger does cover this, and there's a book he wrote about it, and if my recollection is about 10 years since I read it, is that the communities would actually talk to each other and share between themselves, to the point at which it may be that if there are too many poets in one place,
They could
they could go
to a different, yeah.
In fact, in the old days, the troubadour poets or the bards would go from place to place.
Yeah.
So they, are travelling people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the last thing, they don't have a problem. So I don't think that. I think there are about 12 negative questions people ask, like, what about someone who wants 6 Ferraris? You see, because there's no money in contribution, by the way. That's one of the main factors. So people don't do it for money; they do it because it's their passion, because they love doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it so happens that, in my view, the way it works is that everybody's got the thing they love doing. Will mean that the community, it has to be a fairly big community. I mean, he talked about a sort of a village or a town-sized group of people that would have sufficient diversity of skills that all the jobs that need doing get done.
But what about, let's say, people that don't like to do anything?
Yes, so they're covered as well. So the people who don't want to join the community, can go off and do their own thing. The thing is, they're going to have to do everything basically. They're going to have to grow the food, cook their own meat, find that, they're going to have to do it all themselves.
They will expect those.
And which they more or less will fail immediately, I would say.
Yeah, but they'll expect someone to take care of them because that's the universal basic income.
If they're not part of the community, if they've decided to exile themselves from the benefits of the community, well, they're going to have to live on their own.
Yeah, but
there are some people who can do that, So there is an option for them to
some people
to
prefer
do their own
to
thing.
live on their own, and be in a forest somewhere, and hunt and.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, that's a very ideal world.
It may become about
Yeah,
quicker than you might imagine.
but I think they tried to do a few experimental communities like that, and they failed. But I can't remember why.
Yes, I read up about communities. In fact, this place here would do very well for a community, but we're not ready. We're not quite there yet, because what I think Michael Tellinger missed out was the consciousness. You need to be in what I call fifth dimensional consciousness, which is a loving type of consciousness.
Yeah.
And in that consciousness, which is what happens in the paradise timeline, people will naturally do, and people are already in a way doing this. But there is a problem with the communities. You're quite right, I looked into them, and what happens is that the founders of the community, they put the initial money in, or whatever it was, the land, or they get a sort of, they don't want to be special, but they kind of are. So that while you might have a community meeting and everybody has their say as to what to go forward, and you have a system of whereby it's not majority, it's actually unanimous, but if there's someone who objects to the decision, the mandate that the community puts together, you continue discussing until everybody is willing to accept it, which may mean that you keep on having to go through this process until the last few agree to the process. But even then, it turned out that the founders would have a bigger say than everybody else, and somehow or other you get this separation going on, and then you get sort of love affairs between the wrong people, outside marriage, and it would just get into a bit of a muddle, and then after 5-10 years the community gets into problems.
So basically, some people were more equal than others.
Yes, yeah. This is where communities struggle. As far as I've looked at them. Some of them have been more successful than others. I mean, Findhorn has been a big success, but then that got into a kind of like a difficult area, because the original Findhorn was these communal sort of shed type setups where everybody mucked in together. But some people didn't want to do it, they had a bit of money, so there was a bit of land on the side, so they built their own house. And some of these houses they built are really nice. I mean, eco-friendly, they're really super, it's a nice part of the world. But it became those people over there that had the
others,
and then there was these people over here that were struggling, they're in the community setup.
At this point in time, everybody's trying to get more money, more power, more status, more everything. Look at the billionaires. How many millions or billions do you need to have to survive? Why do you need, after 1 million, why do you need another million?
Yeah, this is one of the little mysteries in life, isn't it? But I'm afraid some people are caught up in
but is it a
the
game?
Status
Is it
thing.
a game?
Because you have a big yacht, so someone's got a bigger yacht, or you have 2 houses and someone's got 3 houses, or it's a never-ending game. It's a totally pointless thing, but some people get caught up in that. But to say that everybody's in that materialistic game,
No, definitely not.
there's only a few people that
that's true.
are caught up in that.
That's
I think
true.
more and more people are moving out of the materialistic mindset and moving into a more spiritual understanding of things.
Once you have your basic needs covered, then you can express yourself, and you can
then contribute to others.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can do things for others when you don't need to you know, work for your own existence. This is like a poor person mentality, where you think, oh, if I have $1 million, I'll just help some other people, give them some money or something, or pay for some. And then when you get there, you don't do it, and you want another $1 million. Are you thinking like that up to a point, and then your mind changes, and then you go to the next level where you become one of those?
I don't know. All you can do, I suppose, look at some of the experience of the lottery winners, for example.
Oh yeah, they're the most miserable. Yeah.
Because so many of them get into serious problems.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, how can that be? Because, you know, you just won £1 million, but then all their friends and family all want a bit of it. And of course, that doesn't work so well. And they get jealous, and then all sorts of other sort of dynamics come into the equation, means their life is actually ruined.
Yeah, because I think most of the people have this idea, if I'm going to have £1 million, my life will be perfect. But nothing is going to change. No. That's not going to change. Your life will still be the same as you have it, you know, just with some extra money. But your life is still your life. Yeah. How are you going to live it? It doesn't matter how much money you get. You know, if your mentality, it's not going to change how you think about life. If you're going to win £1 million a lottery, you're still going to be living in a forest.
Well, yes, for me, but not everybody will follow that. There's one story I particularly like on this topic, which was someone who was very good at poker, and there's big competitions, and he got to the point in which you have to put quite a bit of money in to enter the competition, and he did well. In fact, not only that, I think he got a first or a second prize, which was £500,000 or £1 million or something. It was quite a lot of money that this guy won. But he actually lived in Bridlington and said, well, I'm happy in Bridlington. This is the place I want to live. So it didn't affect him, which is kind of like, I would say, a bit of a Yorkshire mindset, is that, you know, we've got everything we need in Yorkshire. So you know, we don't need anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But it's not true for everybody. See, there's some people that's struggling on, say, getting a house, which is something that is a problem for a lot of people, and the rents have gone crazy. And there's a lot of people struggling out there. So, you know, it's very easy for us to say, it doesn't matter. To some people, it does matter, which is we've got to get everybody onto a level playing field. Yeah. Now there might be some people on slightly higher than lower, but the amount of disparity in wealth it got to an extreme level, so that it just needs a major correction.
But I think fairness has a lot of weight in this, because people don't think that it's fair, for example, for a footballer to get 10 million a year while you earning £10 an hour, you know. I mean, how is that fair? You know,
well, actually, another sort of human quality is that you compare yourself with your neighbours.
True. Yeah.
More often than footballers.
No, we're talking about fairness. I mean, not the neighbours. You know, if it's getting £12, I get 10. Well, not a big difference. You know, he's still poor. He suffers like me. That's fine. But you know, you look at the very wealthy individuals, and then you hate them just because they're rich. You don't know them. You don't know what they've been through. You know, you don't know how their life is, if they're happy or not, or you just think that if you get that £1 million, your life will be amazing. Yeah.
Well, one of the issues you talked about was fairness, and for that, your father often has a little bit of wisdom there again. And one of my little bits of wisdom that I received from my father was a little story he told, which was Piggy on the railway picking up stones. Along came the engine driver, broke all his bones. Aha, said Piggy, that's not fair. And the engine driver said, aha, I don't care. So he was trying to get across the message. Fairness is not something that's naturally in the system.
Exactly.
Because of all sorts of complications to do with karmic arrangements that you've bought into when you came onto the planet. So some people are born into a rich family and their life is going to be one of luxury, because of, it's never going to be equality the way everybody has the same. It's never going to be that, because other people, in fact, people will choose to go into a poor family by their very nature. In fact, I know one very good person who actually did decide to do that, and that's Jesus, of course, because Buddha was born as a prince in as a royal family. He was going to take over from his father, who was a king in what is currently in Nepal, but in those days you could view it as part of India. So he was born into a royal family. Then you've got Krishna, who's something very similar story. But when it came to Jesus, he was born to in a stable, in a very sort of basic sort of. His father was a shipbuilder, actually. We talked about it as a carpenter, but actually he was a master craftsman, which is actually a story that I've got to tell at the Yorkshire Interfaith Group. My next talk is in October, and it's going to be on the Urantia book and the life of Jesus, because the Urantia book tells a lot more about Jesus' story and his parents, and how his whole life and childhood and upbringing and adulthood and the missing years. And so that's all in a talk that I'm going to present a bit later on this year.
That's interesting. So you're saying that we can choose in what family we'll be born?
Before you take incarnation, you will go through a process of deciding what life situation and the parents that you will
so you'll choose your life for next time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's one of the other aspects where you said it's a journey through different lives, where you can experience different lives in different situations.
Which is actually in a book called Many Lives, Many Souls, I think it's called, something like that. So if people want to investigate this, they can find it in various different books, because someone did hypnotherapy and people were able to explain what happened on the afterlife, what their experience was. And when you've got something like 1,000 or even perhaps more than that, different stories, you realise that there was actually a common sort of sequence of events that you could put together, which are like 7 steps that you go through in the afterlife before you take the next incarnation.
Why are not people coming back and tell us about the life beyond this one, like afterlife? Who would want to come back and tell people about their experience in the other life or in the next life? Or
they will do that when they're in this deeply regressed state. So they don't normally have access to this information. It's only when they're in this sort of state that this person was able to. I think that's how it works. It's a while since I read the book, but
it's like a recollection of older memories.
Yes, it's a recollection of experiences they had
lives.
in the in-between life that they were able to recollect in an altered state. Young children do have this ability to have these memories of the prior life, and there's some very sort of amazing cases of young children saying that they used to live in this white house on this corner of the street and so on, and described it perfectly, and the parents would say, oh no, that's nonsense. And then one time they actually went to the place the child said, and it was exactly as the child had said. So the child knew that's where he used to live. Yeah. And it got a little bit more confusing than that, because he also recollected his parents in the prior life. So you can get a bit awkward with this, because he then didn't recognise his existing parents as his real parents. He thought his previous parents. You do see how it can mess with your mind. So basically, you get you generally speaking get a memory wipe, or some recollection is available to you in your early years, but about the age of 4 to 6, the whole lot goes, and you're only in one life.
But there is this concept saying that we've got like a shared memory about things, and we get memories from our ancestors passed through us from our generations.
Yes. Well, that's the story in Assassin's Creed, is they go back to previous lives for Ezio to play out the assassin story in, say, medieval Italy or something like that. And the story they produce is these are ancestor memories. But what I'm saying is it could be a past life. But to be quite honest, there's all sorts of different ways of understanding past lives in a virtual reality, because they could be implanted memories.
Oh yeah, so it might not even be true.
Well,
if they're
someone lived
implanted
it,
memories.
but you were given those memories.
To what purpose?
Because this Earth experience is so difficult that if you came into this Earth without any prior ways of understanding life,
you wouldn't survive.
It'd be really a challenge.
Yeah.
And of course, some beings do chicken out quite early on because it's just too difficult. So you get these implanted memories. This is Dolores Cannon talking about this, and I thought it's extraordinary. You could get these implanted memories in there, that those lifetimes that were implanted in you have particular skills and knowledge that are useful to you in the life that you're going to. And to my mind, this explains why there are some genius level abilities for, say, musicians. So you find someone can sit down and play a piano at the age of about 7 or 8 or even younger, and they can do stuff that it's high top quality stuff. There are some young ones that are singing and they have this beautiful voice and can do stuff that you think, well, how does that work? Or people who pick up a violin and it actually sounds really, they've done it before. They must have done it before.
Do you think that we're gonna, going back to The Matrix, the film, do you think we can get to that level where we can download information in our brain?
Yes, that's really exciting when that happens.
Get new skills, like learn how to fly a helicopter on the go.
Well, there are people who actually teach a bit of that. There's one called Quantum Jumping by, I can't remember her name. She also wrote about dogs. She says dogs have an inbuilt psychic ability to tune into the person who looks after them, so the master, but so that when their owner decides to leave the office, they would rush to the door and be there waiting half an hour before the owner arrives.
I had a personal experience with a dog, with my grandmother's dog. When I was a child, my grandma used to leave me all alone, and she will go to neighbors and talk to them, whatever. And at one point, I wasn't that young. I was like 10 years old or something like that. And I didn't know where she was, but my dog was in the garden. So I asked the dog, and he showed me where my grandmother was, down the street, straight into a neighbor's garden, all the way to the garden in the back of the house.
Yeah, amazing.
It was fantastic. I mean, it never happened before or after, but it couldn't have been a coincidence.
No.
I actually asked the dog, where is she, a few times, looked at me, and then it rushed and showed me where she was.
I think dogs have, they're very special beings.
That's fantastic, yeah.
They're here to help us.
Yes. Do you want to speak, to talk about anything else, Ocean? I can't.
Well, I think we've covered everything. It's just that keep your frequency high. This is the main thing to be doing. And recommendation is eat healthily, get lots of fresh air, go into nature, and just be kind to other people and to yourself. Look after yourself, and we will get through.
As long as you have an optimistic view.
Very optimistic. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's gonna keep
There's
you.
some people who go down this, taking the blue pill is going down the rabbit holes, and they end up with quite a negative view. When I've gone down the rabbit holes, yes, there is a lot of negativity to deal with, and it's very upsetting. And then you go through the process and understand actually it's going to end up okay. It really is.
Yeah, let's end in a positive way here, and yeah, I think it will turn out to be all right. It's what when I realized that my purpose in life is to experience life. That's all I needed to know. So I'll do that. Well, I hope I'll see you again, Ocean.
Yeah, and thank you very much for coming here and doing this. I always enjoy our chats.
It was great having me here in your little corner of paradise, and with Henry and everything. And yeah, it's good. So I can't believe it. We did this exactly on the day we did a year ago. That's
our anniversary. Let's do a few more.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ocean. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you later.